I discovered my husband was going on a cruise with his lover, but when he arrived, I was already there with her fiancé. The message appeared on my screen at 2:48 p.m. on a Thursday, an email confirmation from Majestic Voyager Cruises, not sent to me, but accidentally synced to our shared family drive. A premium suite, a vintage wine package, and a couple's spa retreat were all booked under my husband's name for the following week during his, quote, critical business summit in Denver. Except there was another name on the reservation: Chloe. My hands didn't tremble, my coffee didn't spill, something crystallized inside me. 12 years of marriage were suddenly framed with perfect and terrible clarity. I scrolled through the itinerary with a strange detachment. A 7-day Mexican Riviera cruise, a grand ocean view suite, a private dinner with the chef. All the romantic cliches you'd expect from a man who couldn't even remember my favorite restaurant on our anniversary. Going to be a late one at the office, he had texted me an hour earlier. Don't wait up. I studied the cruise details, noting the suite number, 8112, Deck 8, Portside. Something about seeing those specific details made it real. This wasn't just an affair. This was planning, calculation, a parallel life being built while I maintained ours. What a fool I had been. I remember standing up and walking to our bedroom closet, the one we shared. His suits hung next to my dresses as if they belonged there. His shoes were lined up with mine. The physical proximity of our things suddenly seemed obscene. I was about to start pulling his clothes down to tear the fabric and destroy the memories when my phone chimed again. Another notification from the shared drive. A photo appeared. A woman, young, brunette, dazzling smile, posing in front of a mirror wearing lingerie that still had price tags hanging from it. The caption read, "Counting the minutes until you get to see this in person. Hurry up, Mexico." I recognized her. Chloe, the new marketing director at my husband's firm, the one he had insisted on inviting to our holiday party last year, the one who had looked at me with something like pity while accepting a drink in my home. What stopped me from destroying his things wasn't restraint. It was a random memory. A conversation I'd overheard at the Starlight Foundation Gala 4 months ago. Chloe was loudly discussing her engagement to some biotech founder from Boston, showing off a massive diamond ring and talking about her upcoming autumn wedding. I sat on the edge of our bed, phone still in hand, and did something I'd never done before. I searched her name on social media. Her profile was public, filled with hashtags about being #soblist and #bride-to-be. And there he was, her fiancé, tagged in dozens of photos. Liam, handsome in his polished East Coast way. His own profile was full of biotech breakthroughs and leadership quotes. One recent post caught my attention. Taking a solo trip to recharge before the wedding chaos. Time to clear my head and come back ready to start forever with Chloe. The cruise dates matched exactly. A strange calm came over me, the kind that arrives when the universe delivers something so perfectly synchronized it feels like destiny. I opened my laptop and navigated to Majestic Voyager Cruises, deck plans, and cabin availability. My credit card was already in my hand. 20 minutes later, I had my own confirmation email, cabin 8114, right next to their love nest. The symmetry was too perfect to ignore. I took a deep breath and did the only rational thing a woman in my position could do. I found Liam's professional email through his company website and sent him a message. "Mr. Davies, I believe we have something important to discuss regarding our respective partners and their upcoming Mexican Riviera cruise. Would you be available for a call tomorrow? It concerns your fiancée Chloe and my husband Mark, who have made plans I think you should know about." I attached the booking confirmation. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I simply waited, watching the indicator that showed he was reading my message. Typing, stopping, typing again. His response came 2 minutes later. Name a time. The next morning, I sat at a corner table in a quiet cafe in the financial district, watching the door. I recognized him immediately. Taller in person, with that focused energy of someone used to running a lab. His eyes found mine across the room. Recognition, understanding, the look of someone whose world was also shattering. He sat across from me. No handshake, no introduction needed. "Tell me everything," he said quietly, and I did. By the time our coffees had gone cold, we had formed an alliance born of shared betrayal. Not just an alliance, a pact, a strategy. "They think they're so clever," I said, finally allowing myself a bitter smile. "They have no idea what's coming." Liam's expression hardened with resolve. "What exactly did you have in mind?" I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "I already booked the cabin next to theirs, but one person watching their romantic getaway crumble isn't as satisfying as two, don't you think?" He matched my lean, his voice equally low. "Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we both take that cruise. I'm suggesting we become very, very good friends, who just happen to be everywhere they are. I'm suggesting we make this the vacation they'll never forget, for all the wrong reasons." For the first time since we'd sat down, Liam smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of someone imagining precise, calculated retribution. "I'm in," he said. "But we need to be smarter than them. We need a plan that doesn't just catch them, but dismantles whatever fantasy they've built." I nodded, feeling something like excitement beneath my anger. "By the time we dock back in San Diego, they'll wish they never set foot on that ship." The week before the cruise passed in an Oscar-worthy performance. I kissed my husband goodbye as he packed his summit clothes. I helped him choose a tie for his keynote address. I even drove him to the airport, waving from the departures curb with a smile plastered on my face. "I'll miss you," he said, his eyes not quite meeting mine. "Oh, I'm sure the week will fly by," I replied, thinking of the swimsuits and evening dresses already packed in my own suitcase, stashed at Liam's corporate apartment. As soon as his plane took off, not to Denver, but to San Diego, I drove straight to the port where Liam was waiting. We had spent every day of the past week planning, coordinating, building a backstory that would make us seem like old acquaintances reuniting by chance, and practicing our reactions for when we accidentally ran into our cheating partners. We memorized the ship's layout and booked identical shore excursions to the ones they had scheduled. "How are you feeling?" Liam asked as we checked in, his hand briefly touching my shoulder. "I keep alternating between wanting to throw up and wanting to throw them both overboard," I admitted. He nodded. "I've reviewed the cruise line's liability policies. Unfortunately, that would be frowned upon." That unexpected flash of dark humor made me laugh for the first time in days. It felt strange in my throat. We boarded separately. I found my cabin easily, 8,114, right next to where my husband would soon be with his lover. I pressed my ear to the adjoining wall. Empty for now. I unpacked methodically, hanging dresses I had bought specifically for this trip, dresses my husband had never seen, dresses chosen to make a statement when the time came. At 7 p.m., Liam texted, "They've boarded. Saw them at the promenade bar. They didn't see me." My heart hammered against my ribs. I met Liam in a quiet lounge several decks away. He already had a drink waiting for me. "To the most messed up vacation either of us has ever taken," he said, raising his glass. I clinked mine against his. "May we survive with our sanity, if not our relationships." My relationship was a lie, apparently. His voice had a hollow ring that I knew all too well. We shared our stories then. Liam had met Chloe at a biotech conference. He'd been so focused on his company that he'd missed the red flags, the work emergencies, the secretive calls. "I wanted to believe I'd found a partner," he said, staring into his glass. 12 years, I replied. 12 years I supported him. We had a plan. We were going to start a family next year. My voice broke unexpectedly. Liam's expression softened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Be angry." We spent hours talking. Around 10 p.m., we ventured to the main dining room, and there they were, at a secluded table for two. My husband's hand was on Chloe's back as they laughed. Intimate, comfortable, practiced. The sight was a physical blow. This wasn't a new fling. The realization made my knees weak. Liam steadied me with a hand on my elbow. "Not yet," he whispered. "Let them have their bubble. Tomorrow, we pop it." We retreated to a different restaurant, but I couldn't eat. Back in my cabin that night, I pressed my ear to the wall. I could hear their muffled laughter. I recorded it all. The next morning, I met Liam for breakfast. They had booked a jet ski excursion at our first port of call. Ready for day one? He asked. As ready as I'll ever be. We took a later boat to the shore. We spotted them on the beach, sharing a cabana. Liam and I set up our own towels directly in their line of sight. The moment of truth came when my husband walked to the bar. He turned, 2 tropical drinks in hand, and froze when he saw me. The drinks tilted, amber-colored liquid splashing onto the sand. I gave a small, casual wave. He went completely pale. He stood paralyzed, trapped between me and Chloe, who was still on her phone, oblivious. I adjusted my new, striking emerald green swimsuit and walked toward him. "Mark, what a coincidence," I said, loud enough for others to hear. "I didn't realize your summit had a beach. It looks a lot different than Denver," he stammered, speechless. Over his shoulder, I saw Chloe look up, her expression shifting from confusion to sheer horror as she spotted Liam walking up behind me. "How?" Mark finally managed. "Your girlfriend should be more careful about syncing your plans to the family drive," I said pleasantly. "Oh, and you should meet my friend Liam. I believe he knows Chloe." I turned to her, my voice sweet. "That ring is gorgeous in the sun. Does your fiancé know you're here? Or was that a detail that slipped your mind?" People were now openly staring. "This isn't what it looks like," my husband said, uttering the ultimate cliché. "Really?" I glanced from the drinks to Chloe's horrified face, then back at him. "Because it looks exactly like you're on vacation with your mistress, after telling your wife you were at a business summit." Liam stepped forward, addressing Chloe. "We booked all the same excursions as you. Isn't that a fun coincidence? We'll have so much quality time together." And that was just the beginning, the first day of 7. I had given this man everything, and he had built a secret life. I gave them one last smile. "Enjoy your drinks. It's going to be a long week." That night, Liam and I regrouped in my cabin to analyze the day's confrontation and refine our strategy. The initial shock had brought satisfaction, but it wasn't enough. Not nearly enough for the depth of this betrayal. "They're rattled," Liam observed, pacing my small room. I saw Chloe trying to change their dinner reservations and shore excursions. I nodded, scrolling through the ship's app on my tablet. "They won't get far. I've befriended 3 crew members who are keeping me updated on any changes they try to make." This was no longer a spontaneous reaction. During that week of planning, I had been methodical in ways I never knew I could be. What my husband Mark didn't know was that I had photographed all his work documents, downloaded his text message history via our phone plan's backup service, and contacted our bank to flag major expenses from the past year, creating a perfect timeline of his affair through hotel charges and gift purchases. What Chloe didn't know was that Liam had been just as thorough, gathering screenshots of suspicious messages, tracking her location history, and, most damning of all, documenting how she had been using seed money from their startup to finance luxury purchases. "Tomorrow is the formal dinner," I said, studying the schedule. "They'll be expecting a scene." Liam stopped pacing. "So we don't give them one. We do the opposite." "Exactly," I smiled, a cold clarity settling over me. "We'll be charming, friendly even. We'll invite them to our table. We'll make small talk about psychological warfare. The anticipation of a confrontation is often worse than the confrontation itself." Liam agreed with an appreciative nod. I walked to my suitcase and pulled out a sealed envelope. "I've been saving this for the right moment." Inside were security camera images from the ship, showing Mark and Chloe on previous cruises, complete with dates and timestamps, proof of a pattern going back 2 years. The loyalty program manager had been surprisingly helpful after I explained my situation and offered a generous gratuity. "How did you get these?" Liam asked, impressed. "Let's just say, when your husband boasts about always booking the same cruise line for business trips, it creates a traceable pattern." I laid out the photos. 6 cruises in 2 years. Always with her, always during what he claimed were conferences. "That's not an affair," Liam whistled softly. "That's a second relationship." "Precisely, and tomorrow night I want them to understand that we know everything. Not just about this cruise. Everything." We stayed up past midnight, planning every interaction. This was choreographed retribution. The next morning brought another shore excursion, a zip-lining tour through the jungle. As planned, Liam and I arrived just as Mark and Chloe were boarding the bus. The color drained from their faces. I smiled brightly and took the seat directly behind them. "Good morning? Sleep well?" Chloe stared straight ahead, rigid. Mark attempted a weak smile. "Look, we can talk privately." "Oh, we'll have plenty of time for that," I assured him. "We still have 5 more days on this lovely ship. No need to rush." During the tour, we maintained a pleasant chatter, occasionally directing innocent questions at our companions. "Have you ever been ziplining before? Isn't the scenery breathtaking?" Each normal interaction seemed to unnerve them more than an outright confrontation would have. For that evening's formal dinner, I wore a sapphire blue dress, elegant, understated, but with an edge. Liam was in a tailored suit. We entered the dining room 15 minutes after they had been seated. "May we join you?" I asked, already pulling out a chair at their table for 2. "The maitre d' mentioned you had room." Trapped by social convention, they shifted uncomfortably. "Lovely evening, isn't it?" Liam began. "Chloe, that dress looks familiar. Didn't you wear it to the Starlight Foundation Gala last month?" Her eyes widened. That was a work event where she had introduced Mark as her colleague. "Yes, I think so," she stammered. I flagged down a waiter. "Champagne for the table, please. We're celebrating." Mark's expression darkened. "What exactly are we celebrating?" I smiled, reaching into my purse for the envelope of photos. "Anniversaries. Specifically, the 2-year anniversary of your first cruise together." I placed the photos on the table one by one. The Mexican Riviera, last spring, Hawaii in the summer, a quick trip to the Bahamas in the fall. Each one during what you told me were business trips. The blood drained from his face. "How did you—" "I've always admired your consistency," I continued, my voice steady. "Same cruise line, often the same cabin category. It made tracking surprisingly easy." Chloe's hand trembled. Liam chose that moment to make his move. "Speaking of patterns," he said, sliding a thin folder across the table toward Chloe, "I've been reviewing the company's finances. An interesting pattern of marketing expenses perfectly coincides with the dates of these cruises." Her glass froze halfway to her lips. You can't prove." "Our investors were quite interested in the documentation," Liam continued calmly. "I had a fascinating call with them yesterday." This was the moment I had prepared for. Watching them realize we weren't just angry spouses lashing out. We were methodical. We had receipts, literally and figuratively. "What do you want?" Mark finally asked. "For tonight, just dinner." I leaned forward. "Pleasant conversation. Perhaps you could tell Liam about your conference schedule for the next few months. I'm sure he'd be interested to know which business trips are actually romantic getaways." They sat frozen. As the waiter arrived with the champagne, I raised my glass. "To the truth, it always surfaces eventually." During dinner, we periodically dropped details that confirmed the thoroughness of our investigation. By dessert, they both looked physically ill. When we finally stood to leave, I left a room key card on the table. "For your convenience," I explained. "It's for the cabin next to yours. We've been taking turns listening through the wall. The soundproofing is surprisingly poor." Mark's face contorted as he understood that even their most intimate moments had been compromised. As Liam and I walked away, he whispered, "That was masterful. But it's just the beginning, isn't it?" I nodded, feeling a cold satisfaction. Tonight was about showing them we know everything. Tomorrow is about showing them what that knowledge will cost them. Back in my cabin, I finally allowed myself a moment of grief. Not for my husband, but for the life I had believed in. 12 years lost. But in its place was something unexpected. A sense of my own power. I sent Liam one last text before falling asleep. "Thank you for today. Tomorrow, no mercy." His response was immediate. "They created this situation. We're just ensuring they experience the consequences they deserve." I fell asleep to the sound of a muffled argument through the wall, a lullaby of justice beginning to unfold. The third day of the cruise dawned bright and clear. At breakfast, instead of approaching their corner table, we sat prominently in the center of the dining room, laughing with a group of passengers we had befriended, specifically 2 couples from my husband's industry. "Anna and Michael are from Apex Innovations," I exclaimed as we passed their table later. "Apparently they've been trying to reach your company about that merger proposal. What a coincidence to find them here." Mark's coffee cup clattered. Apex Innovations was a major potential client. "We're having drinks with them tonight," Liam added cheerfully. "You should join. I'm sure they'd love to hear about your professional commitments." Their private affair was becoming dangerously public. By noon, the next phase was in motion. During their scheduled couples massage, they discovered their appointment had been accidentally changed to separate treatments. Meanwhile, Liam and I enjoyed their original time slot, having befriended the spa manager. Small disruptions continued. Their lunch reservation mysteriously vanished. Their shore excursion was suddenly overbooked. The real turning point came that evening at the gala night and dance contest. We had signed up, and we had also entered Mark and Chloe's names without their knowledge. "Our next contestants," the cruise director announced, "are celebrating a special occasion. Let's welcome Mark and Chloe." A spotlight swung to their table. The crowd applauded. "We hear they're celebrating their 2-year relationship anniversary. Although, I'm also hearing congratulations are in order for Chloe's engagement. Wait, that can't be right." Confused murmurs rippled through the audience. "Maybe they're shy," Liam called out. "Perhaps they'd be more comfortable if we showed everyone some photos of their celebration first." Before they could react, the large screen behind the stage lit up with the security camera photos from their previous cruises, interspersed with screenshots of their texts. We didn't authorize," Mark stammered. "Oh, just one more special photo," I announced, nodding to the AV tech. The screen changed to show Chloe's engagement post, smiling next to Liam, a massive ring on her finger. The date stamp was undeniable, a year into her affair. The room fell silent. "I believe that's our cue," Liam said, offering me his hand. We took to the dance floor and performed a passionate salsa we had practiced. When we finished, I saw Mark and Chloe slipping out of the lounge, defeated. We followed at a distance, watching them argue on a secluded deck. They were imploding. "Good," I said. "But we're not done." That night, while they were in damage control, I arranged for a commemorative photo album to be delivered to their cabin. It contained candid shots from the cruise, their arguments, their tense body language. The title was elegantly engraved: "When Truth Surfaced, A Journey of Discovery." I glimpsed Mark's face as he opened it. The final descent into defeat. The culmination came the next morning. We had arranged for an announcement over the ship's PA system. "Attention passengers. Will Mark and Chloe please report to the purser's office regarding an urgent matter with their disembarkation documents?" There, they found not only the purser, but also a representative from the cruise line's corporate office. "Mr. Mark, Ms. Chloe," the representative began, "it has come to our attention that you may have used fraudulent information to book this cruise. Your reservation indicates this was a business expense. Furthermore," he continued, "there is the matter of using corporate credit cards for non-business expenses, which has been flagged by your company's internal audit department." Liam and I watched from a distance as Mark's professional world collapsed. The evidence we had gathered had triggered an internal investigation. Meanwhile, Chloe received her own news. Her access to the startup's financial accounts had been frozen pending a full audit by the board of directors. When they emerged from the office, their faces ashen, I stepped into their path. "Enjoy the cruise?" I asked. Mark looked at me with fear. "This is just the beginning," I told him quietly. "When we dock tomorrow, your things will be waiting for you at a hotel. The locks are changed. The divorce papers are with my lawyer, and our family and friends have received a detailed account of why our marriage is over." I turned to Chloe. "As for you, I wonder if your wedding vendors give refunds. Liam tells me he's been very thorough in his communications with them." She flinched. "The thing about betrayal," I continued, "is that it reveals who people truly are. You both showed me exactly who you are. I'm just making sure everyone else sees it too." With that, Liam and I walked away. That final night, we dined at the captain's table, a reservation originally made for them. "To new beginnings," Liam proposed, raising his glass. I clinked mine against his, feeling lighter than I had in years. "And to the truth, no matter how painful, it always sets you free." 8 months later, I stood in my new loft overlooking the bay. The ocean stretched before me, infinite and uncertain, like my future. For the first time, that uncertainty felt exhilarating. The divorce had been finalized with surprising speed. Faced with the mountain of evidence, Mark didn't contest my terms. The investigation at his firm led to a demotion. As for Chloe, the financial irregularities Liam uncovered had led to charges of fraud and a plea deal. Her wedding, needless to say, never happened. My phone chimed. A text from Liam. "Just landed? Lunch still on?" Our relationship had evolved into a genuine friendship, forged in the crucible of shared betrayal. He had opened a West Coast research office for his biotech company in my city. "See you at the Pier restaurant at 1, I texted back. The restaurant was bustling, but Liam had our usual table. "The Tokyo deal closed," he announced as I sat down. "Congratulations." I raised my water glass. "Not bad for someone whose fiancé tried to bankrupt him." He laughed. "Speaking of bankrupt, did you hear about our favorite couple?" "Not directly," I said, "but my old neighbor Jenna saw Mark at a conference, said he's lost weight and looks haunted." "Chloe's plea deal was finalized," Liam replied. "Probation and restitution. Her parents had to mortgage their house." We exchanged these updates not with malice, but with the detached interest of people who had moved on. The satisfaction had faded into indifference. "I've been meaning to ask," Liam said as we finished dessert. "That cruise line sent me a promotional email. A Caribbean itinerary." I raised an eyebrow. "Planning another revenge cruise so soon?" "Actually," he said, his expression turning serious, "I was thinking of reclaiming the experience. A trip with no agenda, no manipulation, just enjoyment. Would you consider coming, as friends?" I considered his offer. 6 months ago, I would have recoiled. Now I found myself nodding. "I'd like that." As we walked along the waterfront, I realized something profound. The cruise meant to expose betrayal had inadvertently revealed my own resilience. "You know what?" I said as we paused to watch the sailboats. "Sometimes I almost want to thank them." Liam looked surprised. "For what?" "For forcing me to become someone stronger than I ever knew I could be. For inadvertently introducing me to a true friend." I gestured between us. "Their betrayal was painful, but what came after? I wouldn't change any of it." He nodded slowly. "I've had the same thought. If Chloe hadn't cheated, I'd be married to someone willing to steal from our company and lie to my face. Instead, I'm here, rebuilding something authentic." In that moment, I realized the most unexpected outcome of all. True closure doesn't come from revenge, however satisfying. It comes from building something new from the wreckage. "So," Liam said, checking his watch, "about that cruise? New Year's itinerary?" I smiled, feeling a lightness that had once seemed impossible. New Year sounds perfect, a fitting way to start the next chapter. As we said goodbye, I took one last look at the ocean. The same ocean that had carried us through betrayal now stretched before me as a symbol of possibility. The horizon was open, the future was unwritten, and for the first time in years, I was genuinely excited to see what came next.